confusion that fishermen experience when pulling deep-sea creatures from the mysterious and terrifying depths below. Monsters that have been hidden for centuries being brought into the light. Let's see what our Earth holds for us today with horrifying catches and footage from down under. Siphonophores, my favorite giant underwater creature to ever exist in the ocean blue. They are a sight to behold, and many deep-sea divers and researchers catch these amazing footage reels of these guys. From first glance, they kind of look like a funky-looking jellyfish, a complete single animal, but they're not. They're actually thousands of organisms all connected in some way. They're called zooids, and although they are all genetically identical, each zooid has their own specific purpose. Some will focus on the movement aspect, others handle the eating, and some focus on reproduction with themselves. Yes, they simply develop from a single zooid after being hatched from a fertilized egg. This is also a bit of a mystery of how they do this, since they're so incredibly mysterious. After they hatch, the single zooid then begins to multiply with the help of growth zones, growing bigger and longer as time goes on. The biggest siphonophore ever caught was in Western Australia back in 2020. It measured up to 150 feet, now being labeled as the longest animal to have ever existed. It created this bizarre doom spiral to capture its meals. This is one net you don't want to find yourself trapped in. Some fishermen and scientists are out here capturing insanely big boys. Back in October of 2021, a group of workers accidentally caught an overweight, colossal ocean sunfish. This article from Science Times claims that this boy was so heavy they couldn't even get the scale to properly weigh it. It wouldn't give a reading. The only estimation that they were able to give was that it weighed over 4,400 pounds. Sunfish, given the name, usually like to come closer to the surface to sunbathe, but obviously sometimes they run the risk of being caught in fishing nets. When they tried measuring its length, they discovered an insane number of being 10.5 feet long and 9.5 feet wide. Although the video looks extremely painful for the sunfish, they eventually put it back after they took DNA samples and other things. Even though their catch was an insanely big one, sunfish are able to grow even bigger, with many other bony fish of the species weighing up to even 5,070 pounds. The longest and widest one ever measured of a sunfish was 14 feet wide and 10.8 feet across. And a little known fact, their offsprings are called fries. How cute. Depending on where you are in the world, you might sometimes come across a giant squid just hovering slightly below the ocean surface, which isn't necessarily a good thing, and usually the only time deep-sea squids come up this close to the surface is because they're close to passing on. Recorded off the west coast of Japan back in 2023, two divers managed to stumble upon a nearly all-white squid floating along the surface towards a rocky shoreline. One of the people there, Yosuke Tanaka, observed the creature and stated, "We didn't see the kinds of agile movements that many dish and marine creatures normally show. Its tentacles and fins were moving very slowly." Tanaka also made a note of how parts of its skin were starting to peel off, clearly indicating that this giant squid was getting closer to its time. But some fun facts about these guys: they have the biggest eyes in the world, with some of them measuring at 30 centimeters in diameter. The maximum length that they can grow to is still unknown about these creatures, but some researchers speculate that they can get as big as 45 feet long. Yeah, imagine capturing one of these guys in your nets. Your whole boat is going under. Capturing the infamous doomsday fish out of all the fish in the ocean is not a good omen. At least that's what people say anyway. Two fishing pals in September of last year managed to capture the extremely rare deep-sea oarfish. Japanese folklore plays a huge role in why these creatures are constantly seen as a negative sign. They believe that if these ever wash up to the shore, they give warning that there may be an earthquake or tsunami that is bound to follow suit. Although it hasn't really been proven that they're messengers from the sea god's palace, it was a little strange with some cases of oarfish showing up before intense ocean events. But it can also be explained that the temperature and current change from these drastic environmental disasters are also the reason some of these are being washed up or coming close to the surface. Their post involving a photo of them holding the oarfish caused their tweet to go viral over X because of the history that surrounds this deep-sea monster. The longest oarfish to ever be recorded till now has been up to 56 feet long and weighs up to around 600 pounds. You'll find photos online of multiple people trying to hold this monstrosity up as well. Japan is being invaded by giant jellyfish, at least in 2006 they were. Not sure if this is still going on. But for some reason, a species of giant jellies known as Nomura jellyfish had been a huge issue. See what I did there? For the fishermen of Japan's coast. Every time they would reel in their nets, there would be several amounts of these things clogging it all up. And when they would finally clear them out to see how much actual fish they got, it was little to nothing. One of the fishermen reported grimly, "It's a terrible problem. They're like aliens. If your nets are full of jellyfish, of course there is no space for the fish. Not only does it ruin the quality of your product, but it eats up so much time in trying to clear out these suckers." The biggest one that they have ever caught was over 6 feet long in diameter alone, and weighed up to 440 pounds. Some good things about them though, they're chocked full with antioxidants. Researchers are using a bunch of the nutrients found in these big boys to help cure a lot of issues, proving that although they are invasive, they can pose some help within the medical world. Could you imagine being the fisherman in this story that accidentally put up a new species of giant isopods up for sale in your market? It was discovered somewhere in Vietnam when researchers luckily stumbled upon the now labeled Darth Vader isopod chilling in a fish market. They chose this bizarre nickname for the fact that its face looks like the iconic sci-fi villain's helmet. I personally don't see it, but I also just don't like Star Wars. Giant isopods aren't necessarily a new discovery, with the first one ever being identified in 1879. They go much further back than that though, with their existence being extremely ancient. Based on previous fossil records, scientists believe that this species has been around for over 160 million years, even older than the T-Rex. They only managed to make it this far in life though because of the lack of predators that they have. Because they live so far deep within the oceans, there really isn't any other creature around to go after them, allowing them to properly thrive and survive in the deep blue. Usually the reason why the majority of creatures are so big down there is because they need the space to carry more oxygen, and it also helps cover more area over time. Less energy to put out with lesser ground to cover. In southwest Tokyo along Suruga Bay, a fisherman managed to capture one of the gentle giants of the sea, the Japanese spider crab, although the fisherman who caught it decided to name it Crab Kong for dramatic effects. Giant spider crabs are very intriguing creatures, and although they look absolutely terrifying, they hold no real threat to anyone. They're quite the little fashionistas as well, and have been given the nickname decorator crabs whenever they were discovered to be literally decorating their shelves with sponges, plants, and anemones. It obviously serves a bigger purpose, specifically so that they can blend into their environments a little more from predators, but it's still cute to witness. When they get to reproducing though, the female giant crabs do not mess around. They're able to lay up to 1.5 million eggs at a time, but it's also because not all of them hatch. The more they lay, the more likely they will be enough to carry on the species. Although they have a limit to how big their main bodies can grow once they reach adulthood, their legs can grow as long as they want. It's also been speculated that they have the longest lifespan of any crabs in the world as of right now. Some octopus can get extremely big. I'm talking anaconda boa constrictor big. The largest Pacific octopus on record right now stretches to about 20 feet long, and its top speed is 40 kilometers per hour. There are many divers out there that are capturing some amazing footage of this beast, and my ultimate favorite is the clip that was uploaded to the Dodo, where a giant octopus got extremely curious about humans. It was definitely new for the diver as well, and stated that this would be the first time he'd be able to interact with an octopus face to face. Removing his glove, he reached out to the octopus and tried to see what the suckers felt like. Obviously, the octopus was equally intrigued with the human hand, but got a little too much into the diver's personal space. But the creature realized this though when the man pulled away, and the second time the diver attempted to touch its tentacles, it was much more gentle this time than the first. Octopus are incredibly intelligent creatures, with some experiments being done on them where they are shown to navigate through mazes, open jars, and are even able to slip out of their enclosures.
Alrighty everybody, so since I'm Canadian, how about we start off today with a report out of West Dalhousie, Nova Scotia. Back in 2010, a man named Andre Shields entered a contest with the province of Nova Scotia to win a chance to get a prize in a commercial for tourism on TV. The area he decided to go visit still had frozen snow, and since it was the end of March, apparently the hike was nice. From time to time, Andre felt like somebody was watching him, but he assumed it was like a coyote or something, since it was an area that was heavily populated with wildlife. Oh, by the way, his brilliant idea was to show off the caves in the area for the contest, which hey, I'm not an expert, but exploring caves alone sounds pretty dang dangerous to me. Andre has mentioned that at the time, he had a fascination with caves, and still does to this day. And like, once again, I get it, they're neat, but like, Safety first? So it was when he was filming the caves that Andre started hearing footsteps outside. The cave he was in was made up of split granite, incredibly squared off like a tomb with the features of a pyramid outside, as well as possibly Nova Scotia's only known stone animal figure, to the extent of his knowledge. I haven't really been able to find info to confirm or deny, so let me know in the comments if you know otherwise. After a few minutes, he realized the footsteps were bipedal, aka somebody who can walk on two legs, so probably not a random coyote. Which, by the way, props to him for not being terrified of those creatures, since the thought of seeing those in the wild would send me running. Around the same time, he started smelling something like dirty gym shoes, and apparently it was like really bad, and I don't even want to try to picture what that smells like because I don't need to gag again on here. Been there, done that, not fun. Finally, common sense kicked in for Andre and he decided to try and get the heck out of there. He exited the cave and looked to the west and saw something standing behind a tree, and ergo decided to go the other way and used a tree as a fireman's pole to slide down. Now at this point, I think he thought it might have been a bear, and speaking from experience, yikes dude, your safety is so not worth this video or contest. So he was tiptoeing back towards the trail when he turned around and saw something using fingers to peer through the branches at him. The silhouette was that of a very tall man, and its hands had black nails, light brown hair, its eyes were very large and dark, and the face looked like a monkey man with pinkish brownish skin. His words, not mine. He started his camera back up and tried recording, and the creature wasn't moving while he was. And soon enough, his reaction of absolute fear was recorded when he started running. Eventually, he stopped at a large puddle to catch his breath and saw where something huge had stepped into a smaller tree and the moss, leaving a massive print, and into the water, leaving another. So he took some pictures and kept going, realizing it had come from the same direction he was running towards. Well, he kept running, he noticed oddly bent trees, broken branches, and just got the heck out of there. He didn't dare venture into the woods again until like 2022. And gee, I wonder why. Next up, we have a spotting from last August in Texas. So this all started with a bizarre daylight animal sighting. Tina Colleague was pretty stumped, so she reached for her camera. She's like, okay, let's get some pictures. I don't know what this is, but maybe somebody else will. But sadly, the photos didn't do much to clarify the critter's identity. Instead, they opened a Pandora's box of cryptid theories, which is where we come in. All Tina knows for sure is that the animal enjoyed chowing down on berries that had fallen from a bush in her hill country village backyard. In an interview, she later recalled, she was inside, she looked out into the yard and saw an animal and was like, okay, what is it? The creature was a yellowish brown color and appeared to be almost the size of a large dog, with a long tail that almost touched the ground and very large pricked ears. After getting the images, she uploaded them to Nextdoor, that's a little social media thing, for a little local feedback. And her neighbors were like, I don't know either. And that's when all the different theories and possibilities started pouring in. Because it's the internet, everybody's got their 2 cents. They included everything from a coyote dog mix to the Chupacabra. So I'm sure you can guess where my thoughts lie on the matter. Now, that name refers to a mythical reptile-like creature in parts of the Americas that is said to stand 3 to 4 feet high, hop like a kangaroo, and attack and drink the life source of livestock. Some folks also thought it might have been the legend of an area mountain lion that a lot of people have long cited but never caught on camera. Now, this isn't the first time that the Texas parks and wildlife officials have proven stumped by something caught on camera. In April of last year, a wildlife camera in the Rio Grande Valley revealed a never-before-seen animal as well. But when it comes to the case of Tina's unknown species, a lot of folks who watched the video were like, we've got some guesses. They're like, okay, maybe it's a wolverine, it could be a bush dog, optical illusion, maybe 2 wild hogs passing by one another. So Rachel Melstoff of the San Antonio Zoo weighed in, thinking that it might be a dog or a canine dealing with mange or other skin conditions. And hey, without better pictures, who knows? My theory? A Chupacabra, just wanting to enjoy some fresh berries in peace. Who doesn't like some fresh raspberries or blueberries? I know I do. This next one is for my Mothman fans. I know y'all are out there. This tale is from 2016, which is back when I was in my first year of university. Ah, little Alexa. Back when I thought a career in radio was still possible. This story comes out of Point Pleasant in West Virginia, and over there, Mothman is a local legend that over the years has gained worldwide fame. A man who wishes to stay anonymous says he was driving along State Route 2 and saw something jump from tree to tree, so he pulled off the road and snapped a couple of photos. As you do. Now, he's declined any kind of on-camera interview, doesn't want his name out there, but he was adamant that the pictures had not been doctored. He said he recently moved to the area for work and didn't even know about the legend. Look, just off the bat, if the guy wants to stay anonymous, that only adds to legitimacy for me. He's not in it for money, he's not in it for fame. What else does he want? In the pictures, the creature appears to have wings with pointed tips and long legs, bent at an awkward angle. Now, Point Pleasant locals such as Carolyn Harris believe the pictures could be real because there have been so many other sightings over the years. She even said, "I definitely know the Mothman is real." Now, the Mothman was reportedly sighted in Point Pleasant by witnesses from November 15th to December 15th of 1966 originally. Author John Keel popularized local folklore about the creature with his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, which was later adapted into a 2002 feature film with the same title, starring a lot of people, including Richard Gere. You know, you've seen it. Harris has owned the Mothman Diner in Point Pleasant for over 48 years and also helped start the Mothman Festival. Oh, I love that. She's mentioned, like, there's been too many sightings of the Mothman for her to not believe. She's talked to a lot of first responders, the sheriff's department, and they've made a believer out of her. Some folks believe the Mothman is a bad omen, only appearing when catastrophe is about to strike. But there's been many claims that the winged, red-eyed creature was seen right before the Point Pleasant Silver Bridge collapse in 1967. Now, back to Harris, she's met a lot of Mothman believers over the years who visit her diner. There's a lot of news sources that have talked to local experts, and I know one of them was Jeff Wamsley, the local Mothman expert on everything, and the owner of the Mothman Museum. And they're like, okay, you see these, what do you think? And he's mentioned, like, with modern technology, it's almost impossible to know for sure if the pictures are real. But it doesn't matter if they're real or not. The benefits the legend of Mothman brings to the town are very real. He's like, it's a good thing. It brings a lot of people to the area. He's here to stay. Me personally, I think it's real. So technically, I don't know the location of this next video, but it was definitely something that had me going, what the bleep? And at this point, that's newsworthy. The narrator of the video starts off by saying, "I'm at a horse stable right now, as you can see. The other day I was walking over here, I saw a guy working the land. He works in the horse stable." Okay, we've got that. So our narrator's like, hey, anytime I see a guy working the land, I get curious. I got some questions. So he's like, okay, have you ever seen anything interesting out there? And oftentimes they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I've seen some coyotes, as one does. But this is where, once again, Alexa interjects, because I would love to know how people are so casual with talking about coyotes, like, So, back to our narrator. He's like, okay, so as the conversation's warming up, he's like, hey, new guy, you ever seen anything out here you can't explain? And apparently the moment he said that, this new guy's eyes lit up. He was like, it's really weird you asked me that question. He's like, just last week, my buddy took the craziest video back in these woods. So he pulls up his buddy's private Facebook page, and well, it's a private Facebook page, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna send you this link, which, if you ever try to send a link from a private page, not gonna happen. So apparently we had to pull up a video, one phone, another phone, screen record, all these things. We've got the video. I haven't seen anybody be able to explain what the heck is going on in it. So, what do you guys think? What's super weird about the video is the guy who took the video won't even go back into the woods anymore. And did you see the dog in the video? So that dog was growling and was looking over into the area where the apparition appears. And just what a crazy video. To quote the guy, I can't believe it, and I haven't been able to figure out what's going on. I know we've been showing the TikTok since I've started talking, so like, what do you folks think? Hey look, having a dog going haywire adds to the validity for me. Animals are super perceptive of the weird and ooky spooky, and they're a good marker of just, what the heck? Okie dokie everyone, we're gonna end today with a video that's close to home for me, a spotting of Bigfoot from Northern Ontario. Now it isn't specified where, but since the terrain looks pretty familiar to me, I'd be willing to bet on Northeastern Ontario to be specific. It shows what clearly appears to be a Sasquatch walking in a wooded area near a body of water. The video was shared by the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization, and it was stated along with the video that these boaters in Northern Ontario had recently captured the incident. No specific time or location of the sighting was provided, but you know my guess. So the boaters were recording the nearby shoreline when a large biped with reddish brown hair stepped out from the woods and walked across the open shoreline, providing a clear, even though brief, view to the onlookers. It quickly disappears into the trees, but the fluid movement of the Sasquatch is noted, along with its deftness in navigating the rocky and steep terrain with ease. So because of the dexterity demonstrated in the video recording, I find it difficult to imagine that this was anything other than an actual Sasquatch, as opposed to a human dressed in a heavy and bulky suit. I've been a mascot a number of times. You don't move that fluidly. This isn't the only time I've spoken about Sasquatch-type cryptids being spotted up north, so I genuinely think there's a whole slew of them enjoying the deep woods and slightly cooler climate up there. I vote we let them exist in peace.
This Chupacabra sighting happened back in 2008, and so a sheriff's deputy in DeWitt County, Texas, had no idea he was about to capture one of the most unsettling cryptid videos ever recorded on a police dash cam. He was patrolling a remote stretch of road with another deputy on duty when a strange animal kind of darted just out of the brush. Now, it had hairless gray-blue skin and arched back, long limbs, and walked with a very eerie, almost robotic type of vibe. And the eyes, well, they reflected light like an animal. animal, but the same shape of the face was just wrong. I mean, the deputy trained to identify wild animals flat out said this wasn't a coyote or a dog, despite it basically being the size of a coyote. Now, it didn't move like one either though. I mean, the footage made the local news and quickly spread online, sparking really intense debates. While wildlife officials chalked it up to just mangy, cryptid experts noted the creature's unusually long hind legs, its unnatural posture, and the way it seemed to be kind of aware of the car slowing down, turning its head to look directly at the dash cam. Many people who watched this footage, of course, were skeptical, with some saying it's a dog and others saying it's a coyote, but apparently, according to locals, their sheep and other livestock recently were being attacked and had fang marks in them, which would have been the same fangs this Chupacabra had as well. One argument that people had was that it couldn't be the elusive Chupacabra simply because they caught this one in the daytime, and it's alleged that Chupacabras only actually come out at night. Well, what do you guys think? Chupacabra, dog, coyote, something else entirely? Let me know. Let's go to Cairo, Texas, back in 2007. This is where rancher Phyllis Canyon was losing chickens, but not in the usual messy, feathers everywhere kind of way. These birds were turning up deceased with puncture wounds to the neck and not a drop of red liquid in their bodies. Whatever, was doing it wasn't actually eating the meat either. It was just draining them dry, which is terrifying in itself to even think about because that means they were really just doing it for fun. Yikes. Now, one day Phyllis spotted a strange hairless creature stalking the property. She described it as dog-like, but with, a bluish gray tint to its skin, long fangs, and an angular snout. It didn't run like a dog either. It allegedly had more of a glide about the way it was moving. Now, weeks later, the body of a similar creature turned up unalive near her property. She saw it and recognized it immediately. She took the passed on creature, and Phyllis had it preserved and actually mounted. And the skull looked nothing like a coyote's. Now, scientists offered DNA tests, claiming it was a hybrid of a coyote and a Mexican wolf, but cryptozoologists, weren't so easily convinced. I mean, Phyllis went public with this, and National Geographic even interviewed her. I mean, the footage of her showing the mounted creature went viral. It was creepy, bizarre, and most of all, completely unexplainable. What do you guys think it looks like? I mean, it's ugly, whatever it is, I'll say that. Let's go back to 2014 in Ratcliffe, Texas, where residents weren't just seeing a strange creature, they were feeding it. Couples set up trail cams after spotting something prowling around their backyard at night. Now, what the camera caught was unnerving to say the least. A skinny, hunched creature with a long snout, large claws, and absolutely no fur. This one, however, seemed to maybe be a baby? Well, anyway, they nicknamed it Chupi and filmed it multiple times over several nights. The animal didn't shy away from the camera either. It kind of moved deliberately as if aware it was being watched. Now, wildlife experts again blamed, mange on it, and skeptics noticed that the creature's limbs were just abnormally long and that it didn't have any visible sores, just bare, tough, almost leathery type skin. Now, the video made national headlines, and even animal control officers admitted they couldn't confirm exactly what it was. Many people, of course, not only in this particular community, but the whole state and also just generally online, once the footage was posted, they had a lot to say in regards to it. One person online said, "Finally, the mystery of the Chupacabra has been solved. Beware, folks, they are out there and they are looking for you." That's scary. Chupacabra sightings are getting more and more frequent, and for this sighting, well, let's go back, like way back, to where this whole modern legend started. I'm taking you to Puerto Rico in 1995. Now, that year, dozens of reports came pouring in from people all over the island claiming that their goats and livestock were being found unalived and completely drained. Witnesses described seeing a bipedal creature with large red eyes, spikes running down its back, and long clawed hands. One infamous piece of footage shows the creature running across a sugarcane field at night, hunched, tall, and very fast. I mean, it was recorded with a grainy VHS camcorder, and although the quality is very poor, the shape and movement still sends chills down the spine. Even more bizarre, well, the Puerto Rican government got involved. Military officers were reportedly seen inspecting some of the attack sites, and several villagers claimed they were warned not to speak to the press. Handful of digitized versions of this footage still kind of survive online. I mean, when you watch it, you'll see, why it triggered global Chupacabra hysteria. In 2011, in the remote village of Silo in Russia, something strange and quite terrifying began attacking livestock there. Farmers were finding their goats and sheep with small, very clean puncture wounds and absolutely no red liquid though. Then one night, a farmer set up a CCTV camera behind his shed. What the footage caught still has not been explained. Now, a humanoid figure, hunched and lanky with glowing eyes, creeps across the frame. It stops in front of a tree, stays completely still for like 2 minutes, minutes, eats some grass. I mean, it would appear and then kind of slinks out of view. The creature didn't move like a person. Its limbs were long, its arms hung low, and the way it pivoted its head was just simply inhuman. Now, Russian TV stations aired the clip, calling it the Russian Chupacabra. Biologists were stumped, and the attacks continued for several weeks before mysteriously just stopping. Once the footage circulated online, many people had their own thoughts and opinions. Of course, many said it's likely just a dog who's hungry, with others saying it's definitely not a dog. One comment that got a lot of likes and attention, though, is from an unknown person online who said, "People keep saying this creature came from the closest zoo. So you're telling me that came from a zoo? Absolutely not. The zoo isn't even close enough to this village for that to be possible. And also, I'm pretty sure that's a chupacabra because the dogs do not have tails that long." Well, I guess upon reading this comment, everyone, and I won't lie, including myself, went back to check on this very particular find. And yeah, the creature's tail is in fact way too long to be a dog's. I mean, I just personally have never ever seen a dog with a tail that long, and forget the tail, I mean the eyes too. I've never even seen a dog with glowing eyes like that. What do you guys think though? Could it possibly be some of the best footage we have to prove that the chupacabra is real and is out there? Let me know. Back in 2020, just 5 years ago, and yes, wow, I can't believe I'm even saying that because 2020 feels like yesterday, am I right? Anyway, a woman named Susan in Blanco, Texas posted very chilling home surveillance footage to Facebook that left viewers stunned. At exactly 2:43 p.m., her camera picked up movement in her backyard. A very gaunt, dog-like creature with a skeletal build and elongated limbs kind of crept into frame. Susan said her pets had been acting strange for days leading up to the encounter. Now, many people believe it's a dog mixed with a mountain lion or a rare hyena that escaped from someone's estate, but the main thought was that it had to have been a wild dog or a dingo or even a wolf. Now, Susan never saw it again, and Susan never wanted to see it again, and truthfully, I don't blame her. Finally, we have a clip that has been circulating online, and although the footage sucks because it seems to have been taken on a cheap security camera, you can see the animal, or whatever it really is, walk into frame slowly and make its way across the ground. Now, this thing was massive, and the giant creature you can see then turns its head towards the camera, its eyes reflected brightly, but instead of running, it slowly kind of just tilted its head and stared for like 10 full seconds. Wildlife officials dismissed it as a trick of the camera, and some thought maybe it was a lion, although that begged the question, how did a lion get there? Some said maybe a giant raccoon or a fox, which again, But locals weren't buying any of this. They assumed it was someone in a suit, which also is unlikely in my opinion though. The footage went viral in Texas cryptid groups, and to this day, no one has been able to definitively say what it was. What do you guys think though? So is this chupacabra just a coyote, that's sick, a misunderstood predator, or are we dealing with something far stranger? The phantom hitchhiker on Highway 47. She whispers your name as she fades from the back seat, and you realize you never hit the brakes. That's how drivers describe the chilling moment the phantom hitchhiker disappears. And no matter how many times people tell this story, one thing never changes: the look of pure terror on the face of those who saw her. This legend haunts Highway 47 near Tome Hill, where multiple locals claim to have picked up a young woman wearing a torn white dress, barefoot with long dark hair. She looks lost, she looks scared, she always gives an address near the cemetery. Then somewhere along the drive, she vanishes, leaving behind an icy cold seat, the scent of wet earth, or sometimes a personal item like a scarf or a bracelet. One driver claimed he found the scarf on a headstone the next morning. Now, this isn't just a ghost story passed around for laughs. Police logs and community message boards over the years show consistent reports of a girl seen walking alone late at night on that same stretch of road. Some call it folklore, others are convinced she's real. They say she was a teen that was unalived in a hit and run while fleeing an abusive relationship decades ago, and she's still looking for someone to get her home safely. The most terrifying part, well, many drivers say they felt fine at first until she whispered something that made no sense at all, something like, "He's still out there," and then vanishes. No trace, no sound, just silence, followed by a sense of overwhelming dread that stayed with them for days. La Mala Hora. Now you're driving alone, it's close to midnight. Suddenly, a figure appears in the road, tall, shrouded in black, unmoving, you can't see her face. Your headlights flicker. You hit the brakes, but everything freezes. You try to scream, but nothing comes out. Well, that's La Mala Hora, the evil hour. Now this horrifying entity appears in remote parts of New Mexico, particularly along back roads near the Rio Grande. Now witnesses say she manifests as a shadowy woman with a veil, or as as a shifting black mist. Now her presence is an omen. If you see her, something terrible is about to happen, and if she gets close to you, there's literally no turning back. Now one woman driving back from Santa Fe describes seeing La Malahora standing at a crossroad, her black cloak kind of billowing despite the still air. She didn't stop, but when she got home, she found out her brother had passed away right around the exact same time that she passed the spirit. The earliest known versions of this legend date back to the early 1900s. Some believe La Malahora is a demon, others think, she's the spirit of a woman who lost her children to war or plague and now punishes those who cross her path. Whatever she is, the stories all agree on one thing. She shows up right before someone passes away, and she never appears twice to the same person. The demon dog skinwalker of Las Cruces. Now, it wasn't a dog, it wasn't a wolf, it wasn't anything that should exist. That's what Carlos, a 19-year-old college student from Las Cruces, said after something chased him through the desert at 2:14 a.m. one night in 2015. He was heading home from a friend's house when he heard heavy footsteps behind him, too fast to be human, too loud to be a dog, so he turned and saw it. Black fur, long limbs, yellow eyes that kind of glowed in the dark. It was running upright, and it was laughing. Local folklore calls it the demon dog, but others believe it's just a skinwalker or a shapeshifter from Navajo legend, now said to be kind of a witch who uses dark magic to become a beast. Now, the skinwalker myth is sacred, feared, and rarely spoken of in public, but in southern New Mexico, people have reported seeing creatures that match its description for years. A rancher outside of La Cruces reported finding 14 of his goats mutilated overnight. No red liquid, no footprints. Surveillance cameras recorded only static and a deep growling noise before cutting off completely. When he checked the pen the next morning, the locks were still intact, but the goats were scattered and torn apart as if something flew in and out. Now, another local swears the creature followed him home. He saw it standing near the tree line at the edge of his property. That night, his dogs barked non-stop, and he heard scratching at his window. In the morning, claw marks were etched into the glass. He moved out a week later. I don't blame him. The demon dog doesn't just, hunt. It kind of plays with you. It mimics your voice. It draws you in, and when you're isolated, scared, and alone, that's when it strikes. The ghost children of Arroyo Seco. Now, they play by the riverbank at dusk, barefoot, soaking wet, laughing softly as they skip stones across the surface. And if you get too close, they'll invite you to play. Now, locals near Arroyo Seco, just north of Teos, speak of children who haunt a bend in the river. The story goes that in the 1940s, a school bus swerved off a narrow bridge during a really bad storm and crashed into the river. To this day, hikers and locals say they've seen ghostly children by the water, always in very small groups, always near sundown. One man says he heard giggling while he was fishing alone. He turned and actually saw a group of children watching him from the opposite bank. He then waved at them. They actually waved back. Then one of them stepped into the river and then vanished, like without a splash, nothing. Now, another woman was walking her dog when she saw a small barefoot girl standing on the trail. The girl looked lost, so she actually bent down to ask if she needed help. Now, the girl said, "Can you find my bus?" Then disappeared into the trees. Her dog refused to move for several minutes, whining and just shaking uncontrollably. Now, even more disturbing are the stories of people hearing their own names called by children's voices, very faint, echoing, and always just out of view somehow. Some believe the children are harmless, while others think, they're trying to pull people into the river to join them. Ghost hunters who have investigated the area report very odd EMF readings, unexplained splashing sounds, and sun and cold spots, but they all agree on one thing. The air near the part of the river feels a lot heavier, like someone is watching you, like someone is waiting. La Llorona of the Organ Mountains. Now, she walks the trails barefoot, draped in white, her long black hair hiding her face. You hear her before you see her, crying softly and whispering, "Now, ¿dónde están mis hijos?" which is her saying, "Where are my children?" La Llorona, the weeping woman. Her story is told across Latin America, but in New Mexico, especially in the jagged shadows of the Organ Mountains, her legend feels terrifyingly real. One hiker said he was exploring the Aguirre Springs trail alone just before dusk when he heard a woman sobbing behind him. He actually turned around, no one was there, the crying grew louder and louder, he started running, but the sound stayed right behind him until it suddenly just stopped. When he got to his car, the windows were fogged from the inside and his back seat was soaking wet. Another group of campers said they saw a woman in white drifting along the edge of their campsite late one night. Now she was hovering a few inches off the ground. One of them tried to approach her thinking maybe she needed help, but she turned to look at him and her face was bloated and blue, her mouth wide open in a very unnatural scream. The man literally collapsed. When he woke up, his boots were filled to the top with water. It hadn't rained there in days. Now some say La Llorona is the spirit of a woman who did something terrible in a fit of rage and was cursed to wander forever in search of her missing children. Now others believe she's more than a ghost, that she's more like a warning, a punishment, or a trap for the lost and lonely. And in the stillness of the desert, where sound travels for miles and shadows stretch like claws, her presence feels like more than just a story. Now whether you believe in her or not, one thing is certain, the Oregon mountains are beautiful during the day, but when the sun sets and the trails go quiet, no one hikes there alone. So next time you find yourself in New Mexico, keep your eyes open and your instincts very sharp.
This man was captured talking to a demon on Google Maps. When it comes to videos and photography, it tends to show us things that we couldn't see in the real world. And with demons and the supernatural, somehow their abilities cannot get past our advanced technology. When this was posted online, the actual man in the photo had to reassure that he swore that he was talking to his neighbor, not this supposed demon. But it is very clear in the photo. The man has gray skin, hollow black eyes, and an inky black mouth to match. There have been stories that ghosts will take the form of someone you know and trust to try and get closer to you, which makes sense when the man mentioned that his neighbor was someone who he trusted very much. What could this demon possibly want with this man? And is it still following him to this day? A human-alien hybrid was discovered right outside the Mayan pyramids. You've heard the tales about people being abducted by aliens, forced to carry their offsprings, and live their lives back on Earth. Well, this Google photo probably just proved that all to be true. A very lanky, woman-looking creature appeared to have the upper complexion of a human, but when we look at her legs, we know that is far from the case. Her knees are bent backwards, almost similar to that of a horse, as she stands in the middle of the clearing, unaware that her existence was being taken by Google. Some people believe that aliens reproduce with humans because they believe us to be weak, or that we are evolving too slow of a speed for them, so they have taken it upon themselves to quicken that process for us. Have you ever come across an alien-human hybrid before? Do you have photos? This ghost baby was captured inside of an abandoned home. Nothing is scarier than exploring abandoned homes and buildings, because you never know what might be still lurking about within its dark crevices. While exploring an old childhood neighborhood in his late 20s, a man decided to look back on the terrifying home that used to be next door to him. His window was always facing the abandoned home, and throughout the years he grew up there, no one dared to live in it, not after what happened. Before his family moved in next door, it used to be owned by a man and his wife, but supposedly the wife went crazy after an unfortunate accident that happened to her and caused her to damage the lives of those around her. With this Google photo, it is a reminder of what happened to the family and what drove her to insanity. A demonic entity was seen entering the human world through Google Images. Have you ever witnessed a portal opening before your very eyes? Some people say that they have, but they've never been given the chance to capture it on film. Until now. Uploaded 8 months ago to Reddit, someone had posted this bizarre photo of a green and black portal cracking through space and time, but what might be inside could remain a mystery forever. Others say that this was probably just a glitch that Google's camera had experienced, but it seemed to be too properly placed for it to happen. Aside from it being a demon, other believes it's actually a tear in the matrix, and everything that we knew or believed to be true was nothing more than a simulation. But thankfully, we have Keanu Reeves in this timeline, so I think we should just be fine. What are your thoughts? This guy caught a live recording of a ghost he saw inside of a cemetery. Everything about cemeteries is terrifying, especially with all the ghost energy that they harbor inside of them, so of course there would be spirits lurking about. What he managed to capture though was straight up bone chilling, because as he zooms in closer for a better image, it's as if the person's figure is fizzing in and out of reality. It's not all there, which is quite common with ghosts as they struggle to manifest complete bodies in the real world. It's very ominous ominous, as it appears to just be staring at the camera as the car goes by. It gets even scarier when the camera pans over to the right, and we see another dark, shadowy figure also taking an interest with the Google car. So not only was there a ghost, but a demon as well. It's a good thing this all happened in the daytime. Terrifying tiki demon dolls, Bigfoot himself, and monstrous deep-sea creatures that have yet to be discovered. Let's check out these Google Earth images that have shaken up the internet. This disturbing wooden human-like demon doll was discovered on someone's balcony in France. This is by far one of the most bizarre things to accidentally stumble upon when it comes to Google Maps. To this day, nobody knows what or who this thing is. Its features appear to be human-like, but it is anything but. It has an incredibly large head that harbored these terrifying yellow glowing eyes and blonde, stringy yellow hair to match. One of the scariest features about this though is that it looks like its head is turned almost 180 degrees around, with its actual body facing the glass door. Some people speculate that this must be some sort of voodoo magic, or something to do with demonic rituals. Why else would this bizarre thing be here? Some people on the internet like to give it the name Tiki Demon for its outfit, but even with that addition, more questions begin popping up about this thing. What do you think it is? Bigfoot was caught on this Google Earth search. The legend of Bigfoot has been a mystery for decades, and even to this day, people have been trying to prove this monster's existence. Finally though, after this image was uploaded to Reddit forum 2 years ago, we may just have our proof. This hairy, bipedal-looking creature was captured crossing a field. If you remember the Patterson-Gimlin footage from 1967, you can see there are similarities between the two creatures. Both of them had this dark, shiny fur that reflected a lot in the sun, and despite this photo being a little blurry, the build is also slightly the same from what I can tell. Google Earth has become an incredibly useful tool when it comes to exposing cryptids and other legends, with more images being uploaded online daily. What do you think about this photo though? Does it match up with the famous Bigfoot video? An alien was discovered hiding out in an abandoned boat out in the middle of the ocean. Aliens very do much exist, and for people to start finding them through Google Maps is actually insane. While scouring the ocean, this guy zooms into a random spot in the middle of nowhere, where it's clearly a graveyard of abandoned ships. While trying to get a better view into one of them, he stumbles upon this extremely terrifying creature that's gray in color, extremely veiny and muscular, and anything but human-like. The weirdest thing about this though is that there is a light flashed on it, meaning that there was a real person there when it was discovered. How it got into the Google Maps directory, who knows, but it is a terrifying case nonetheless. Someone must have discovered this alien and had to expose its existence in a discreet way, hoping that someone would be able to find it one day accidentally, like this one. A deep-sea creature bigger than the blue whale was captured accidentally through Google Earth. Sometimes you will find marine animals jumping through the waves, such as whales, dolphins, etc. But what happens when you come across a creature that you've never seen before? We've only explored 5% of our oceans, and I think this Google photo just revealed another terrifying monster that lurks deep beneath the ocean surface. When we look closer at this image, we can see 3 tentacles at most, but one of them reaches way past the rest of them. Based on some of the measurements that this person had written down in the description, they estimated that this thing had to be at least 200 feet long. Some people said that this was a hoax and that it just had to be a colossal squid, but when you actually look at its head, it's nowhere near the same in shape. Whatever this thing is, it has not been discovered yet. Creepy, human-sized dolls with no faces were discovered next to abandoned houses. Not only was it next to one house, there is an entire village in the Aya Valley of Shikoku in Japan. There are hundreds of these things propped up in different poses and different locations, and the story behind it gets even creepier. Apparently, every time a person passes on in this village, a woman takes it upon herself to recreate them as a doll. So every person you see in this village represents an old member who used to live there. Even though there are now only about 40 people left in this little town, there are over 350 dolls surrounding them. It is meant to be a special ritual for those who have passed on, doing her best to replicate everything that represented them in the living world. Would you be brave enough to come down and check them out yourself?
Move over, Bigfoot. The water leaper is a malicious creature from Welsh mythology and folklore that lived in swamps, ponds, rivers, and lakes. It was said to be a giant limbless frog or toad with a bat's membranous wings, sometimes even a bird's feathery wings, and a long reptilian tail with a large stinger at the very tip so it leapt across the water using its wings, hence its name, and its favorite prey were fish, poor sheep who wandered too close to the water's edge, or even fishermen. And don't look at me, I don't fish. It was said that its appearance alone was enough to strike one dead, never mind its venomous stinger or crazy screech that could have you doing this. This being was also said to really badly shriek. By the way, that shriek would stun its prey, and it would leap up from the water, it would snap the fishing line of fishermen, dragging whatever poor soul into the water's abyss, only to be speedily engulfed by a malignant and quite insatiable big mouth. Now, I don't know if there's been any modern sightings. It might be an extinct situation, maybe an endangered situation. Whatever it is, I'm not tempting fate. In Northern English folklore, the Barghest or Barhest is a mythical monstrous black dog with large teeth and claws, though in other cases the name can refer to a ghost or household elf, especially in Northumberland and Durham. So in terms of the origins of the name, ghost in Northern England was pronounced guest, and the origin is thought to be of the combination Burgest, town ghost. Others explain it as similar to the German Berggeist, mountain ghost, or the bear ghost. Another derivation is Bargeist, German for spirit of the funeral bier. So in Yorkshire, England, one notable case is said to frequent a remote gorge named Troller's Gill in the Yorkshire Dales. A ballad entitled The Legend of the Troller's Gill can actually be found in a historical book, and it has to do with all of this. The ballad recounts the tale of a man who ventures forth to the horrid gill of the limestone hill. I did say it was a song, right? In order to summon and confront the Barghest in an act of ritual magic. The man's lifeless body is discovered soon afterwards with inhuman marks upon his, chest. There is also a story of a Barghest entering the city of York occasionally, where, according to legend, it preys on lone travelers in the city's narrow snickleways. Furthermore, the building at number 1, the Shambles, is named Barghest. The town of Whitby is also associated with the spectre, and yet another one haunted an area of wasteland between Reghorn and Headingley Hill near Leeds. In Durham, during the 1870s, a shape-shifting Barghest was said to live near Darlington and was said to take the form of a headless man who would vanish in flames, a headless lady, a white cat, a rabbit, a dog, or a black dog. Another was said to live in an uncanny-looking dale between Darlington and Houghton near Throstlenest. If I got it wrong, I'm sorry. The Barghest often allegedly serves as an omen of death. At the passing of a notable person, it may appear, followed by all the other dogs of the local area in a kind of funeral procession, heralding the person's death with howling and barking. Also, if you're gonna get in its way, it's gonna strike out with its paw, and you're gonna wind up with a wound that never heals. Besides taking the form of a large black dog with fiery eyes, it might also become invisible and or walk about with the sound of rattling chains. Oh, and it might foretell the death of an individual by laying across the threshold of their house. And like the vampire, they can't cross rivers. So, good to know. If your dog crosses the river, it's a dog. If not, get out of there. The Rougarou legend has been spread for many generations, either directly from French settlers to Louisiana or via the French-Canadian immigrants centuries ago. Rougarou represents a variant pronunciation and spelling of the original French loup-garou, which is the version I heard about when I was younger at summer camp. It was a fun French camp. According to Barry Jean Ancelet, an academic expert on Cajun folklore and professor at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in America, the tale of the Rougarou is a common legend across French Louisiana. So both words, so loup-garou and Rougarou, are used interchangeably. Everybody's got their own preference. Just so we all don't get confused today, I'm just gonna stick with Rougarou for the purpose of the legend. So in the Cajun legends, the creature is said to prowl the swamps around Acadiana and greater New Orleans, specifically the sugarcane fields and woodlands of the regions. The Rougarou most often is described as a creature with a human body and the head of a wolf or dog, similar to a lot of modern werewolf legends, and often the storytelling has been used to inspire fear and obedience. One such example is stories that have been told by elders to persuade younger generations to behave. So according to another variation, the beast will hunt down and kill Catholics who do not follow the rules of Lent. And this coincides with the French Catholic loup-garou stories, according to which the method for turning into a werewolf is to break Lent 7 years in a row. For what it's worth, I've been ignoring Lent for much longer and I'm not a werewolf. I'm part vampire, not part wolf. Long story. Anyways, a part of the legend says that the Rougarou is under the spell for 101 days, and after that time the curse is transferred from person to person when the Rougarou draws another human's life source. During the day, the creature returns to human form, and although acting sickly, the human refrains from telling others of the situation for fear of being killed. Other stories range from the Rougarou as a rabbit to the Rougarou being derived from witchcraft. In the latter claim, only a witch can make a Rougarou, either by turning into a wolf herself or by cursing others. I don't want to be cursed. In the folklore of Lee County, South Carolina, the lizard man of Scape or Swamp, also known as the lizard man of Lee County, is an entity said to inhabit the swampland of the region. On July 14th of 1988, the sheriff's office investigated a report of a car that was damaged overnight while parked at a home in the area of Browntown, outside Bishopville, South Carolina, on the edges of the swamp. So the car reportedly had tooth marks and scratches, with hair and muddy footprints left behind. The sheriff at the time, one Liston Truesdale, noted that this was the start of various claims that eventually snowballed into a story about a lizard man in the swamp. Prompted by the news of the vehicle damage, local Christopher Davis reported to the sheriff that his car was damaged by a creature he described as green, wet-like, about 7 feet tall, had 3 fingers, red eyes, skin like a lizard, and snake-like scales. Oh, and it happened like 2 weeks prior. So according to Christopher, he was driving home from working the night shift at a fast food restaurant when his car got a flat tire. And after fixing it, he saw this creature walking towards him. He got in his car, began to drive, but then the creature was soon on top of the car. So Christopher hit the brakes and the creature rolled off, which gave Christopher enough time to escape. Well, coverage by newspapers and media resulted in really increased attention for the claims. Local businesses began selling Lizard Man t-shirts. The local Chamber of Commerce was like, okay, well, it's good for the community. Fast forward to 2009, CNN mentioned the Lizard Man legend in a story about a couple in Bishopville who reported damage to their vehicle, including traces of redness. 2015, a local television station, WCIV, featured photos and videos claiming to be Lizard Man, allegedly taken by some unidentified individuals. 2017, the South Carolina Emergency Management Division sent out a humorous tweet being like, hey, just be careful during the solar eclipse, you might want to remain vigilant for Lizard Man. So looks like he's still creeping around. And the shug monkey is a mythical creature in the folklore of Cambridgeshire, sharing the features of a dog and a monkey, which reportedly haunt Slow Hill Lane, which leads from the village of West Ratting to nearby Balsham. So this creature, said to have the body of a jet black shaggy sheepdog and the face of a monkey with staring eyes, is not believed to be an escaped primate. But, you know, it's kind of terrifying. Local writer and broadcaster James Wentworth Day, who first related stories of the shug monkey in Here Are Ghosts and Witches, described it as a curious variation of black shug, while local folklorist Polly Howitt suggests that maybe there's some origins in Norse mythology here. Local police constable, a Taylor, who heard the stories, was like, yeah, it's a cross between a big dog and a monkey with big shining eyes. Sometimes it shuffles along on its hind legs, other times it whizzes past on all fours. Okay, well, if you see that, run! This first video is courtesy of user Valhu on TikTok, who opened their front door to a creature that almost looks like a deer, but missing ears, and the eyes are definitely not in the right spot. For reference, not deer are described as looking like a deer from a distance, but then as you look at it longer and you get closer, you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Their movements are described as similar to a newborn deer, but they appear as an adult, with some theories suggesting the creature might be double jointed, or just have like additional joints in their limbs. The most defining feature, however, is that not ears don't have eyes on the sides of their head. They have it more on the front, kind of like a predator. Don't look at me. They normally hang out in Tennessee, but this spotting came from somewhere in Southern California, which, like, I don't want to know what else is there. In a video titled Part 2, We Called Him Wereboy, Wisconsin investigator Donna Fink told of her 2012 sighting of a strange werewolf-looking boy in a strange white van. This incident took place in Rock County, Wisconsin, between Milton and Whitewater on a bright sunny Sunday afternoon at around 3 o'clock. The weekend before, Donna had gone into the woods, her Bigfoot research area, and while she and her husband were in the woods, they heard a loud buzzing rhythmic sound. They were like, it's kind of similar to a transformer type noise because it was really loud, really repetitive, but they didn't really know what it was. And then they heard a branch crack, like a really big one. So as they were like getting the heck out of the woods, they passed a mud hole that they'd observed on their way in. But this time there was 2 wolf prints, so Donna stopped to take some photos. Now, they were like, this is kind of strange because they hadn't seen a wolf anywhere, and it's only 1 square block of woods by a farm. Well, when Donna and her husband were back to the same area the following weekend, and they were driving on the left side of the road, they saw what they described as a wereboy. So he looked normal at first until he looked up at the duo, and then they're like, oh, he's got like big teeth, he's got matted hair, kind of like he's been living under a rock or a bridge or who knows what. So when the duo saw him, they screamed and made a U-turn because they're like, we gotta get this on video. So like we said before, his teeth were very big, very flat, twice the size of human teeth, and instead of the white ones, there was like yellow, green, brown, bleh. His eyes are a little darkened around the rims, but he had a normal nose, bit of a brow ridge, and also, one very strange thing, he had clean clothes on. But the weirdest physical trait he had was like a muzzle. Not a big one, more like a chimpanzee. Donna and her husband were terrified of what the possible outcome of the situation could be. And they're like, maybe let's go down by the cemetery. We'll turn around, we'll get the video cameras, the cell phones out, and just try and take a video and pictures. But then, out of nowhere, this white double-decker panel van, completely brand new, no markings on it whatsoever, pulled up near the wereboy. And while Donna isn't sure how many people were in the van, she definitely saw one guy in like a regular shirt, no uniform, make the U-turn, pull up next to the creature, get out, door opens, boy gets in, van goes zoom, and they never see it again. Dawn and her husband looked down every side street, every driveway, every direction they could think of. But the van just went poof. In Jack Osborne's Night of Terror UFOs, he teamed up with a couple of his friends. They went off to Utah. Why? Well, they wanted to go explore the notoriously creepy and mysterious Sherman Ranch. This area has been known for a very long time for its otherworldly and unexplainable activity. The 500 acres of isolated land is located between Ballard and Vernal in Utah, and the Sherman family acquired the ranch in the 1990s, but there's been myths for centuries. It was known as UFO Alley, and Desert News reported in 1978 that nearby residents had spotted a dome-shaped UFO over the ranch that was surrounded by this glowing green light. The family reported doorways of light appearing in midair, cattle that vanished, animals that got harmed on their property, crop circle-like patterns in the surrounding fields, unidentified flying objects, orbs, invisible objects, magnetic fields, all sorts of stuff. While investigating the disappearance of cattle, one man reportedly saw a large beast, like a wolf but larger, harassing cattle, so he fired an explosive at the creature that hit the intended target, but the creature didn't slow down and escaped unscathed. In more recent years, a lot of residents of the area have reported seeing strange lights in the sky, close to the ground, creatures, shapeshifters, and that's where today comes in. So this gang of buddies, joined by UFO expert and former FBI agent Ben Hansen, attempted to figure out, like, is this all connected? And also, why is this area known for crazy stuff? On the second night of their investigation, there was this crazy lightning that ripped through the area. Osborne said, it's like something doesn't want us out here. And there was more than a little indication that he was right. So he used some night vision glasses, and he saw something very odd trekking very quickly through the desert. Upright like a human, but then it vanished. He said, I swear to God, I effing saw an S-walker, and we got it on effing tape. And he was telling that to his producer, referring to a shape-shifting creature of legend that morphs into various animals, like wolves or bears. And the evidence didn't stop there. They were like, yeah, no, this area is a supernatural hubbub. We're getting out of here. What if I told you that on a remote ranch in Mexico, there was a farmer named Roman Ochoa who claimed to have witnessed something truly out of this world? Alright, picture this. A mysterious creature, neither fully man nor beast, caught in the act. So this owner of the Ojo de Agua Ranch has a tale that unfolds kind of like a cryptic blend of mythology, werewolf folklore, and you get a little bit of extraterrestrial intrigue. So he swears by the existence of naguals, beings believed to have the ability to transform into their spirit animals. And in this case, it's not just like a run-of-the-mill shapeshifter. This is a man morphing into a werewolf, and it happened right on his ranch. According to Roman, the man in question didn't stumble upon this extraordinary power by accident. It's not a curse, not a mishap. The werewolf abilities were alien-based. Yep, an extraterrestrial entity allegedly granted the power of metamorphosis to this unsuspecting human. Alright, let's talk about evidence, because that's what you're here for. There's a photo. We've got this. So you can see the creature in question, halfway between man and werewolf, paws eerily resembling human feet. Just like imagine being inches away from this, and somehow, apparently, nobody was harmed. So we like this kind of encounter. And last year, horrifying footage appeared to show a shape-shifting witch lurking in a family's garage. The alleged sighting took place when the homeowner heard strange noises coming from inside. Although usually barking away, the man realized his two dogs were really silent. And the spooky footage shows the man entering the garage to check on the dogs, but at the same time you see this strange figure lurking behind one of the parked cars, on all fours, kind of like an animal. The figure then moves into the shadows and then shapeshifts into a bipedal figure. And while the man is distracted, one of the dogs notices this and is freaking out. The creature has now apparently sprouted long, spindly limbs, and the man's like, I'm gonna go investigate, while the creature's moving behind the car. So then our witness gets face to face with the shapeshifter and is like, I'm getting out of here. And you see this creature standing on those spindly legs and is roughly the same size as a human. Then they walk out of view as a man is like, "Hey, partner, come over here, see what I'm seeing." And according to the timestamp on the video, the creature showed up at the stroke of midnight. Now this clip was filmed in Mexico, and according to local reports, they're like, "Hey, maybe this is also a Nagua, the human witch with the power to shapeshift." Still, stay away.
Albert Ostman, the man who claimed Bigfoot kidnapped him. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, still inside your sleeping bag, being carried through the pitch black wilderness by something so strong you can't fight back. No growl, no roar, just the sound of heavy footsteps and your own heartbeat exploding in your ears. That's exactly what Albert Ostman said happened to him back in 1924. Ostman was a Swedish prospector camping alone near Toba Inlet in British Columbia, a remote mountainous region so rugged that even experienced outdoorsmen can disappear without a trace. He had heard local stories about giant, hairy men in the area, but brushed them off, as wilderness folklore, until the night he vanished, of course. Now, Ostman said he woke up suddenly when something grabbed his sleeping bag, with him still inside, mind you, and hoisted him onto its shoulder. He couldn't see, he couldn't move, he could only feel himself being carried for what he estimated was several hours through rough terrain. When he was finally dropped and managed to kind of wriggle himself out, he claimed he was staring at a family of Sasquatch, 2 massive adults and 2 younger ones. He described them in shocking detail, towering human-like figures covered in dark hair with expressive faces and incredibly powerful builds. Instead of hurting him, Ostman said they kept him there, preventing him from leaving. He believed he was being observed, studied, possibly even considered as food. For 6 days, he said they fed him roots and strange vegetation. He described the smell, their sounds, the way they moved, and the strange intelligence in their eyes. He tried repeatedly to escape, but said the adult male always stopped him. Now, finally, Ostman made a desperate move. He carried a tin of snuff tobacco. Knowing the creatures were curious, he offered some to the large male. The Sasquatch swallowed it and soon became violently ill. While the creature was incapacitated, Ostman ran for his life. He didn't just wander back into town confused, he returned with a detailed, consistent story that he stuck to for the rest of his life. Now, here's where it gets eerie though. Ostman was gone long enough that he could have had easily passed away out there. That region is actually filled with very steep cliffs, dense forest, and wildlife. Many people have gone missing in similar wilderness areas and just never come back. But Ostman did come back, with a story also that sounded impossible yet disturbingly specific. Was he lying, hallucinating, or did he survive something others never returned from? Dennis Martin, the missing child and the creature on the ridge. A 6-year-old boy hides behind a bush during a family game and is never seen again. That is not an urban legend. That's the real disappearance of Dennis Martin, one of the most haunting missing person cases in U.S. National Park history. So it was June 14th, 1969 in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Dennis was on a Father's Day camping trip. While playing hide and seek with other kids, he ducked behind some bush to jump out and surprise his family. Now, it's alleged that the kids he was with actually told him to go to a separate way, like go a completely different area than them to go hide, because he was wearing such a bright red shirt, and then of course he would be easily seen, so he did. He went his own way. Seconds later though, he was gone. No scream, no struggle, and no trail. The area was full of people that day, but to be fair, around 6 p.m., heavy rainfall came down, and so that would have actually wiped away any footsteps or any trail. Now, searchers mobilized almost immediately, and the FBI got involved as well. Hundreds of volunteers kind of combed the mountains, but nothing. We're talking, I think it was a total of 1,400 people that actually came out to help look. But then came a very separate, chilling report. A family hiking several miles away reported seeing a very large, rough-looking man, or what the child actually thought it was a bear, carrying something over his shoulder. They said he moved strangely, almost gliding, and was heading uphill into the dense forest. They assumed it was a bear or a park ranger carrying equipment, until they learned a child had vanished at the exact same time. Dogs brought in to track Dennis reportedly lost his scent abruptly, as if he had simply just stopped existing at a certain point. The Smoky Mountains have long been associated with Bigfoot sightings, especially in remote ridges and deep valleys. While authorities never concluded cryptid involvement, the timing, the strange witness reports, and the complete lack of evidence turned this case into one of the most discussed lost disappearances in cryptid circles. I mean, most lost hikers leave clues, scraps, footprints, something, right? I mean, Dennis left nothing. You know, if he was still alive today, he'd actually be 62. I don't know, this one is wild. It's a cold case I would like to try and solve, seriously. The Bennington Triangle, where people walk in and don't walk out. There's a stretch of wilderness in Vermont locals call the Bennington Triangle. And if you step inside its boundaries, history suggests you might not come back, kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. Between the 1940s and 1950s, multiple people vanished there under terrifyingly strange circumstances. Now, one of them was named Paula Weldon, an 18-year-old college student who went for just a simple afternoon hike, you know, on the Long Trail in 1946. She was actually seen by several hikers. Then, you know, she disappeared around a bend in the trail. No body, no belongings, no explanation. Then there was James Tedford, a war veteran who vanished from a moving bus in 1949. His luggage was still on the rack. His seat was empty. Witnesses said he had been there minutes earlier. Another case involved 8-year-old Paul Jepson, who disappeared from a farm while his mother fed pigs just a short distance away. I mean, bloodhounds tracked his scent to a road where it kind of stopped cold. I mean, I think there was like 5 in total of disappearances over this time. Locals had stories long before these disappearances, though. I mean, they spoke of a creature they called the Bennington Monster, described as a tall, hairy, human-like being seen moving through the woods. So it sounds like Bigfoot to me, right? Native legends from the area warned that the mountains were cursed hunting grounds where strange beings lived. The pattern is what disturbs people the most, though, right? Victims vanish near the same area, often in daylight, and often close to paths or roads, and search efforts repeatedly fail to produce remains. I mean, are these just tragic wilderness disappearances, or is there something in those forests that people occasionally cross paths with and don't survive? The Nahanni Valley, Canada's Valley of Headless Men. Yes, if there were ever a place that feels like it belongs to cryptids, it's Nahanni Valley in Canada's Northwest Territories. Towering cliffs, endless forests, mist-covered rivers, and a history of people going in and, well, just never coming out. For over a century, prospectors and explorers have vanished there. Some were later found deceased under very bizarre circumstances. Others were never located at all, and the valley earned the nickname the Valley of Headless Men after multiple gold seekers were found decapitated in the early 1900s. Their camps were intact, their supplies untouched, but their heads were just missing. Local Dean legends spoke of a race of giant wild men called Naha who once inhabited the mountains. Fierce, reclusive beings said to live in caves high along the cliffs. Again, sounds like Bigfoot to me, right? Now the stories describe them as large, powerful, and not fully human, whatever that means. Now, modern visitors report strange screams echoing across the valley, massive footprints, and the feeling of just being watched. I mean, even experienced survivalists say Nahanni feels different, like oppressive, silent, and just flat out wrong. Search teams have struggled in the terrain for decades. The wilderness there is so vast and hostile that it could probably hide anything, including something that probably doesn't want to be found. Dyatlov Pass, the night something was outside the tent. 9 experienced hikers, a remote mountain in Russia, and a night so terrifying that whatever happened still defies explanation. Now, in 1959, the Dyatlov Pass hikers set up camp on a snowy slope in the Ural Mountains. Now, sometime during the night, something caused them to cut their way out of their tent from the inside, panicked escape basically into sub-zero darkness. They fled without proper clothing, some passed away from hypothermia, and others had horrific internal injuries like crushed ribs, fractured skulls, but with no signs of external trauma. So how does that happen? One woman's tongue was actually missing from her mouth. Very weird. Investigators were baffled. There were reports in the region of sightings, of the Mansi Menk, which is a large ape-like cryptid from local folklore. Now, other hikers in the broader area reported seeing strange orange lights in the sky around the time. So just a lot going on, No avalanche evidence fully explained the scene. No animal tracks matched. I mean, the group had military experience and wilderness knowledge. They wouldn't flee their tent half-dressed unless something truly terrifying was happening right outside, right? I mean, whatever they saw, they believed staying in that tent meant certain doom, so they left. And whatever caused their injuries did so with massive force. I mean, to this day, cryptid theories remain one of, the explanations people return to, because the behavior of the hikers suggests they weren't just reacting to weather, but to a presence. These cases are real disappearances, and historical historical accounts, but each is wrapped in cryptid lore, witness reports, and mysteries that official explanations have never fully erased. And maybe that's the most unsettling part here, because wilderness doesn't just hide bodies, it hides things we still don't fully understand.
Ever thought you saw something glittering in the distance, but your eyes were deceiving you? Well, Stella's experience took place on September 2nd of 2022 back in Chicago. She went out onto a balcony and she was looking in the distance and saw this weird large tree. It was about like 20 feet away. And one of the branches on the tree was bowing pretty heavily, but there was nothing there that could have made sense for it to be having weight. So as Stella was staring at the branch and trying to make sense of what was going on, an intense feeling of dread and fear came over her, as if every part of her body was screaming at her to turn around and run, but she didn't know why. And at that very moment, the branch that she had been observing began to shake violently, and despite everything still screaming at her to leave, curiosity had now gotten the better of her. So she started to move along the railing to get a bit of a closer look. A small form began to glimmer on a branch, and as Stella continued to watch in shock, a transparent human figure that shimmered a yellowish white color developed. She snapped out of her fixated stare and quickly took a step back from the railing, realizing finally that maybe this is something kind of scary. The shimmery being eventually dropped out of the tree, landing behind a man who happened to be walking past at the time. Now this guy spun around, his reaction similar to somebody who had been struck from behind, and was kind of confused when all he saw was a cloud of smoke. Oh right, the shimmery thing had disappeared in a puff of smoke after hitting the ground. Now Stella was like, okay, I'll wait around, let's see what happens. Nothing came back. Thankfully for her, at the same time, another neighbor just a couple floors below had observed exactly the same thing. And when those two conferred, they were like, okay, what's going on? Thankfully, they also managed to track down the guy that was walking past, and between the three of them, they were like, okay, he felt something on his back, I saw something, you saw something, what is going on here? Oh, and they also all confirmed that they were feeling that weird, overwhelming dread. Up north we go next. We've got an aquatic cryptid in Vancouver. So Taylor Wallace is a private investigator based out of BC who was hired to find the evidence of a person that had gone missing without a trace. And all he found, after more than a 6-year investigation, was evidence of large clawed creatures that could very well be consuming people. The photos he has provided as proof show a large claw print in the sand that was found, among others, next to a seal without its head that he discovered in 2016, a large claw print cut into some solid stone found in 2022, a cave made by something with large claws that has a red fluid-soaked entrance with a red claw print on the cave wall above it, and 3 separate scat samples from a large animal, believed to be one of these mysterious creatures. Oh, and also what possibly could be a human fingernail? So the area where all of this was found in was a couple hundred feet around a lake from a public beach, and there were dozens and dozens of large claw marks coming out of the water and onto the shore in various places that really didn't belong to any kind of water creature that Taylor could identify. And he's gone to this beach many times and is constantly looking for and gathering more evidence. Sadly, he has found another seal that was missing an important body part and copious amounts of evidence of a large aquatic creature that's coming out of the ocean on a daily basis to feed on seals, ducks, and migrating snow geese. So not only are there large digs and claw prints in the hard ground everywhere, which were obviously made by a creature with some crazy claws, but the remains of all these dead other creatures are everywhere. While coyotes are the largest predators in the area, Taylor's never seen one in that park, and also the claw prints don't match up in really bad evidence. In a nearby park, Taylor's also collected more scat samples, and also one that might have traces of human evidence. And he's like, maybe this is from the human that he's been looking for that's been missing, so he can stop looking for that human. Also, very coincidence-wise, he's found evidence of these creatures in locations where people have gone missing without a trace. Do you believe in fairies? Now, while most folks like to think of them like helpful beings with multicolored hair, stunning wings, the reality is not all sugar plums and sweetness. American soldier Sam Barrett comes from a long line of military personnel, if we're talking expertise. Currently deployed on a peacekeeping mission, so the location of the story is kind of anonymous for safety, but the current climate where he is always raining or foggy, for context. So one night earlier this year, while retrieving a cache of buried weapons, he and his platoon noticed some lights in the forest that were kind of far away. They were about 10 small lights all moving pretty erratically. Now another member of Sam's group began to hear what sounded like two people whispering in a language nobody could understand. And it was very quiet at first, but it started to get louder until it sounded like they were whispering right next to his ear. Soon, about 10 more voices joined in on the whispering, and they were all talking at the same time. The men began to panic. They were like, oh, maybe these lights are a distraction, which apparently that was a common tactic used by the local enemies. And they're like, uh-oh, ambush! So Caleb, a teammate and good friend of Sam's, suddenly started speaking loudly, which is not what you want to do in this situation. It seemed as though he was trying to communicate with his father, who had died 2 years earlier, and he dropped all of his belongings before running towards the lights. Now Sam was like, okay, my buddy's lost it, or maybe there's mind control going on. Now, fearing for Caleb and worrying like, yo, you're a dummy, you're gonna give up our position, he chased after him. But Caleb kept repeating, I'm coming, father, as he sprinted towards the lights. Well, as they got closer and the lights got bigger, Sam found it odd he couldn't really make out any definition, like there was nothing behind them. They just looked like lights floating in midair. Now Caleb was on his knees with his arms at his side. He was praying in front of these lights. And he was in like a trance, and Sam tried snapping him out of it, but he was like, nope, my father, the lights, the lights. Now eventually the commander of the team showed up, looked at everything, and was like, uh-oh, the fairies have him. Caleb eventually passed out, and the lights disappeared almost instantly. After being carried back to the base and returning to consciousness, Caleb had zero recollection of what happened. And not just for the evening. The entire day was a blank. Terrifying. We can't have a cryptid list without Nessie. For the uninitiated, this is the preferred nickname of the Loch Ness Monster over in Scotland. Spottings of this girlie go all the way back to 565 AD, making her a pretty grown woman at this time. Tied with Bigfoot for the most common cryptid being spotted, she's very popular, but also very much a recluse. This most recent spotting is from earlier this year, and in early March there was a Nessie enthusiast who couldn't believe what he saw when he was monitoring a webcam video of the lake from his home. Two separate clips captured something stirring in the mysterious depths close to shoreland lodges near Fort Augustus on the loch's southern shore. Now our expert described that he almost couldn't believe what he was seeing. It all happened so fast. In the first video clip he got, something moved on the surface for a couple of seconds, and then he saw two shadowy wakes moving in two lines under the surface, moving to the left approximately 15 feet before disappearing. Now the expert estimates that the wake was roughly 6 to 8 feet long, and the water was way too agitated for the disturbance to have been caused by a fish. This was the first confirmed sighting of Nessie in over 7 months, which kind of broke the drought of Nessie news. Hey, maybe she just wants to hibernate. Finally for today, a tale of the monogamy Bigfoot. So this tale begins about 20 years ago, when our anonymous narrator purchased property on the lake. It's a pretty common cottage and vacation spot. He had grown up spending summers in the area, and he's very knowledgeable about wildlife noises, which very important. It was about 9:15 at night, right when darkness was starting to take over. He and his wife were sitting by the fire, facing like all the woods on their property, and they were like, okay, let's go inside because mosquito bites were brutal. He was staring at the fire alone when he heard what he described as about like 3 whacks around a kilometer away, and didn't really think about it much until about 15 minutes later when he heard the sound again. But this time it was closer. Now originally he was like, okay, maybe it's a moose hitting their antlers against a tree, but it didn't make sense for what time of year it was. Being able to barely see through the tree line, he heard the noise again. And yes, another 15 minutes. This time it was closer once again. He didn't really have anything to protect himself with, so he bolted into the cottage. And the whacks came again, even closer. Now, he never heard them once he got fully inside the house, but they kept happening at night over the next so many years. Now, if you're wondering, okay, maybe it's just somebody pulling a prank, his property is water access only. So any random strangers aren't going to come all that way for a prank. The Michigan Dogman has been terrifying locals since at least 1887, when not one, but 2 lumberjacks shared their sighting of the creature. According to legend, this cryptid has a dog's head on a man's body, but it isn't a werewolf. It's the Dogman, who for most witnesses steps out of the trees in an isolated part of the woods, performs some acrobatic moves, and then tears off into the woods. It was described as a 7-foot-tall, blue-eyed, or amber-eyed, bipedal, canine-like animal with, yes, the torso of a man, but fearsome howls. But apparently they sound human. This creature was unknown to most of the modern world until very late in the 20th century. It is said to have been stalking the area around the Manistee River since the days when the Odawa tribes lived there. In 1937, in Paris, Michigan, not to be confused with Paris, Texas, or Paris, Canada, Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs and said that one of the 5 walked on 2 legs. Flash forward to 2017, truck driver Joe Barger pulled over in the Dogman's territory in Manistee National Forest to fix a leaky tire. Well, I guess probably just a busted tire. According to Barger, he was under his vehicle, fixing things up, when he heard an unnatural animal call emanating from the woods. Assuming it came from a black bear, he fixed his thing, got in the vehicle, drove off, only to spot a giant wolf head in the open window of his very tall truck, keeping pace with the vehicle. Barger claimed the creature had huge white teeth with 3-inch long canines, long black ears, and huge, seemingly intelligent yellow eyes. After deciding the dogman was kinda set on making him his next meal, Barger snagged his Colt and fired at the creature, blasting it into the weeds. Supposedly, the dogman's body was gone when Barger turned around to check it out, and 2 people claimed they witnessed a bear fight where the body would have been. Going back a little bit of time, back in 1987, the legend of the Michigan Dogman gained popularity when a DJ at WTCM-FM recorded a song about the creature and its reported sightings, and he based the songs on actual reports. So this song was recorded with a keyboard backing, and it was credited to Bob Farley. After the song was played on air, Cook received calls from listeners who said they'd had a lot of encounters. In the weeks after the song was first played, it was the most requested song on the station. Cook also sold cassettes of the songs for $4 and donated proceeds from the single to an animal shelter. Oh, before I forget, have you noticed anything in common with all these years? So according to legends, the Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7. And at the end of the day, sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan, but primarily in the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula. So if you see a dogman, a lot of believers think that if you simply clap, you're gonna scare it away. So try that. Good luck. As the legend goes, locals of the village of Wynn in central Michigan claim a corn monster lurks in the cornfields. To be specific, a shadowy figure that looks like a large, disheveled man emerges from the stalks and scares anyone driving in the rural area late at night. It's located near the intersection of South Wind Road and West Blanchard Road in Fremont Township, Isabella County, which is about 12 miles southeast of Mount Pleasant. There was allegedly an encounter in 2003 from a delivery man who stopped on a country road near Wynn one night to just rest. The driver admitted that he occasionally felt before that night that there was something trying to reach out of the corner of his truck whenever he would drive down that road, but that night things got different. He got out of his truck, wanted to just stretch his legs, and the next thing he knew, a frightening human-like creature appeared on the edge of the cornfield. He described this creature as unexplainable, dark, dirty, man-like, and our guy screamed, scrambled back into the vehicle, and drove off, passing by the thing as it stared at him until he was out of sight. As a matter of fact, the area in which the wind corn monster has been seen is very, very little. Nearly every encounter has been on that road, so Co Road, in Isabella County. It's interesting though, like to think about why this creature decided to stay in such a small area, and how it remains so elusive. Also, like, what's gonna happen if they plant something other than corn in those fields? Does it become the soybean monster, the wheat monster, the cabbage monster? Those are also shorter crops, so then our monster's gonna have to crawl. Also, where does he go when the corn is harvested? Does he have like a cabin in the nearby woods? Scary movies and stories have taught, well, me enough at least, that if there's a scary cornfield, don't go near it. So what other residents have experienced this creature? Like, because there's gotta be some. Maybe it's time to take a trip. If you try to find out more about this legend, by the way, be aware that a lot of the online sites spell the town as W-Y-N-N, but the correct spelling, according to maps at least and the town welcome sign, is W-I-N-N. The Wahila is said to be a wolf-like creature the size of a bear that roams northern Michigan, Canada, and Alaska. It doesn't travel in groups, it's very solitary, likely due to its massive size and lack of local predators. So it's larger and more heavily built than normal wolves, with a wide head and proportionally larger feet and long, pure white fur. The animal's hind legs are said to be shorter than the front legs, and the tracks show widely spaced toes. Witnesses describe this as being 3.5 feet to 4 feet at the shoulder. Legends describe the Wahila as an evil spirit with supernatural powers and describe it as doing what? Just killing people and removing their heads. It has been theorized that the Wahila is an amphicyanid, which is a prehistoric carnivore of the Miocene era, or a dire wolf, a prehistoric hyena, or maybe even a completely new species of canine. The Wahila supposedly travels through a section of land called the Nahanni Valley on its way to and from Alaska. The area is also known as Headless Valley, due to the large number of headless corpses found in it. all attributed to the Wahila. This snow white creature allegedly travels silently on its massive paws and simply chomps the head of any unfortunate person it encounters on its way. According to an old Lowe legend, a ferocious hyena-like animal once roamed the American prairies, and due to its habit of killing and devouring dogs, the Lowe called this creature the Chupacabra, which translates to carrying off dogs. Every night this creature snuck into Lowe camps, and every morning a couple more dogs were found missing. So when the folks figured out that this had gone on long enough, they decided to ambush the animal. Armed with muskets and bows and arrows, they crouched in the darkness beside their teepees, not far from where the dogs were tethered. Suddenly, a strange wolf-like creature slinked into camp from out of the darkness. Nobody had ever really seen anything like it before. The very brave folks sprang from their hiding places and peppered the animal with arrows and musket balls. Incredibly, the missiles failed to bring the creature down, and they only made it angry. With a crazy shriek, the animal lunged at its tormentors. The warriors drove it back with their spears and clubs, and after a tremendous struggle, the animal retreated back into darkness. And everybody was like, let's follow it. They tracked the creature throughout the night and most of the following day, and eventually they did manage to corner it. The creature put up a very good last stand and fought to the bitter end. When it finally fell, it cried just like a human being. Once the creature was dead, a lot of folks skinned its carcass, painted its hide, and placed it in a medicine bundle. It was under the belief that whoever wore this medicine bundle in battle would be immune to enemy weapons, much like the monster whose skin it contained. The Nain Rouge, or Red Dwarf, is more than a cryptid to the city of Detroit. It's a devilish embodiment of the hardships that have befallen the city throughout its existence. According to legend, before every disaster in the city, the Red Dwarf makes an appearance to foretell the upcoming hardship. The first sighting of the Demon of the Strait occurred in 1701, when Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac, founder of Detroit, allegedly saw the being sitting on a bench. When the dwarf poked a stick at Cadillac, he retaliated with a drawn sword and nailed his adversary into retreat. As a result, Cadillac lost all of his money and moved back to France. Every hardship that befell Detroit from that moment forward came with an alleged sighting of the dwarf, sometimes climbing light poles disguised as a little human. Immediately before the catastrophic events, it's been spotted before riots, snowstorms, big battles, and a lot of other events. And finally for today, Dowagiac is the town in which reputable sources have supposedly spotted the odd Dewey Lake monster ever since the 1960s. These sources claimed a beast resembling a gorilla, bear, and cat mixed together, measuring 10 feet tall and covered with fur, has chased after multiple residents. In June of 1964, a woman claimed the 500-pound cryptid chased her into her home, and 3 more girls said they encountered it later that night on a wooded roadway. Multiple armed locals are said to have combed the woods looking for the monster who frightened the girls and the woman, but they found nothing. Some say the large creature is also armed with claws and scales, allowing it to swim in its namesake lake. So perhaps the monster is just living up to its name and hiding beneath the surface of water until it can roam the woods again. Or maybe it's taking a page out of Nessie's book.
Number 5, the Jersey Devil. Since the 19th century, New Jersey citizens have been putting up with a devilish cryptid whose name describes him to a T, the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil is described as a kangaroo-like creature with the head of a dog, face of a horse, bat-like wings, horns on its head, and a tail. The Jersey Devil has been terrorizing people for hundreds of years, and there have been a multitude of reported sightings which helped create the creature's reputation. While visiting a mill to inspect his cannonballs being forged, Stephen Decatur launched a cannon at a flying animal overhead. The animal hardly flinched and continued on flying. People often complained of the devil eating their livestock and leaving the animals in ghastly states. One man was actually able to demobilize the creature, thinking it dead, and took a picture. He showed it to dozens of people in the hope that someone would be able to identify the creature with red eyes, and many claimed that it resembled the Jersey Devil. In January of 1909, there was a drastic influx in published sightings. Newspapers wrote of the devil attacking trolley cars and social clubs. The authorities supposedly fired at the creature in an attempt to stop the attacks, but to no avail. Reports of footprints in the snow were coming in from all over the state. Many even offered thousands of dollars for the capture of the Jersey Devil, with the plans to make a private enclosure or zoo for the cryptid. Skeptics believe that the Jersey Devil is nothing more than a folk story, saying that the devil was created by the early settlers who were collectively suffering from mass hysteria. Many people have been found faking their claims of sighting the Jersey Devil, and even faking tracks or photographs in an effort to substantiate their claims. Whether the Jersey Devil is real or not, it has definitely become extremely well known and feared as a North American cryptid. Number 4. The skunk ape. The skunk ape is described as a large bipedal creature standing at 5 to 7 feet tall and covered completely in reddish-brown hair. The skunk ape has been reported to live in swamps of Florida. Sightings of the cryptid began in the early to mid-1900s, with the first major sighting occurring when a group of people noticed a large, man-like creature in the Perky Bat Tower. The creature shook the tower, driving the bats away, and it escaped into the woods itself shortly after. In the 70s, 2 Florida deputies reported firing at the creature after it had stalked them through the woods. The deputies followed the uncanny tracks, finding reddish-brown hair that had been snagged in barbed wire. Many Everglades tour guides have reported sightings. In the summer of 1997, David Shealy noticed an animal trap filled with lima beans. David Shealy noticed an animal trap filled with lima beans had large prints on the ground surrounding it. David Shealy soon set up other traps filled with the beans, and many people who explored the swamps reported similar sightings to his. In 2000, the county sheriff's office received a photo of a large, hairy, man-like creature. The person who had sent the photo claimed to be an elderly woman who had seen the creature stealing apples off her porch. She scared it off with her camera, fearing that the creature was an escaped orangutan that might harm her or her family. Sightings are still reported today. 48 out of 67 counties in Florida have made a report since 2010. Those in search for a rational explanation of the creature have accused the entire mystery surrounding the creature as a hoax, saying that the skunk ape is nothing more than a myth and a knockoff Bigfoot. Some say that sightings were just people mistaking other wild animals for it, like sick bears or wolves. Bigfoot's small, swampy cousin has definitely stirred up some serious drama in the South. Number 3. The Wendigo. The Wendigo is a humanoid creature or spirit originating from First Nations and Indigenous people from the southeastern forests of Canada and the Great Plains of the US. The Wendigo is said to be a malevolent spirit, appearing at times as a creature with human-ish characteristics capable of possessing humans. The possession invokes feelings of insatiable hunger, greed, and even the desire to consume human flesh. The Wendigo has several descriptions. Depending on the region, it may differ slightly. The Wendigo has been said to have a heart of ice, a foul stench, and a sudden chill when the creature's presence is near. However, in the original indigenous depictions of the creature, these features were not mentioned. The Wendigo was introduced by Algonquin-speaking indigenous people, including the Ojibwe, the Saulteaux, the Cree, the Nespaki, and the Innu. In all of their descriptions, the Wendigo is consistently described as a malevolent, flesh-eating, supernatural being, strongly associated with winter, coldness, famine, starvation, and the north. Basil H. Johnson, an Ojibwe scholar, provided a description of the Wendigo. The Wendigo was gaunt to the point of emaciation, its desiccated skin pulled tightly over its bones, with its bones pushing out against its skin, its complexion the ash gray of death, and its eyes pushed back deep into their sockets. The Wendigo looked like a gaunt skeleton recently disinterred from the grave. What lips it had were tattered and unclean and suffering from separation of the flesh. The Wendigo gave off a strange and eerie odor of decay and decomposition, of death and corruption. The Wendigo has also been reported to cause psychosis in humans, usually resulting in the ending of their lives. When near to starvation, the Wendigo will possess a human, which leads the human to act in strange and scary ways. The human will slowly stop seeing those around them as peers, and instead, the possessed may view their peers as food. The lives of people who have been possessed are often ended to ensure that no one gets eaten. The Wendigo has also been viewed as a concept, opposed to a physical being, displaying the innate nature of greed, selfishness, and consumption that lays inside us all. In pop culture, the Wendigo has been depicted in many different ways, but all depictions were derived from Indigenous and First Nations people, which has in turn shone a lot of false and over-dramatized information over the Wendigo's origin. Number 2. The Yeti. Yeti, abominable snowman, snowy Bigfoot, all names for the ape-like, snow-dwelling creature that lives in the northern reaches of North America. The Yeti is described as a large bipedal creature with white, gray, or brown hair. It has also been depicted as having large, sharp teeth. The name Abominable Snowman was created in 1921 when Charles Howard Barry led a Mount Everest expedition. He wrote of seeing footprints in the snow. Describing them, he said, he believed they were probably caused by a large, loping gray wolf, which, in the soft snow, formed double tracks rather like those of a barefooted man. His Sherpa guides gave the creature the name of Meto Kongmi, which roughly translates to man-bear snowman. The name Abominable came out of a mistake that interviewer Henry Newman made. In preparation for an interview with Charles Howard Berry, Newman assumed that the word Meto, man-bear, meant filthy, which he substituted abominable for. The name caught on quickly, and many called the creation of it a happy accident. Mentions and sightings of the Yeti extend back to before the 19th century. According to H. Seeger, the Yeti was part of many pre-Buddhist beliefs of Himalayan people. Seeger was told that Himalayan people used to view a glacier being as the god of the hunt. The Yeti has become an extremely popular creature. Filled with many mistakes and misunderstandings, the Yeti has a rich and slightly amusing history. Many movies have been made about Yetis, and people still travel to the northern reaches of the world in an attempt to capture proof of the Yeti's existence. Number 1. The Loveland Frog. And finally, I saved the absolute best for last, the Loveland Frogman. The Loveland Frog, or Loveland Frogman, finds its origin in Ohio. Standing on 2 feet at 4 feet tall, the frog is definitely much larger than the average amphibian. The Loveland Frog was first spotted in 1955. Some stories specifying that it was first spotted in May of 1955, when a businessman spotted the creature while driving on a dark road in Loveland, Ohio. Other stories say that a group of men spotted 2 or 3 creatures, each standing on 2 legs 3 to 4 feet tall, with frog-like faces and leathery skin. Honestly, that description just sounds like me and my friends waking up after a night out. The creatures were spotted over a poorly lit bridge, and one was extending its arm upwards and holding a sparkling light above its head. In March of 1972, in the dark of night, Officer Ray Shockey was shocked as he noticed a large animal scurrying in front of his car. Lit by the headlights, Shockey was able to note the large size of the animal. The creature then walked to the side of the road, stood up on its back legs, and climbed over the guardrail down towards the river. 2 weeks later, another officer, Mark Matthews, reported seeing a large crouching animal on the same road. Matthews secured the animal and brought it to Shockey, showing his coworker that the creature was merely an iguana. The Loveland Frogman has become a less known but very loved cryptid. Renderings of the creature definitely spark a little bit of joy into the viewer of them.
Now, this fish looks like someone combined a fish and a human together. It's completely unsettling. Now, someone was near a river in China when they spotted this fish, and they decided to record it and post it on the internet. Now, at first, it seems like a normal fish, but its face has human-like features. I mean, it looks like it has human-shaped eyes, a nose, and big human lips. People in the comments are saying that it's just a ghost carp, but if you look at photos of that fish online, they look nothing like whatever this creature is. Whatever kind of fish this is, mutant or not, it's creepy, and I do not like it. No, not at all. Now, at first, this video is confusing, but there's actually a creature attached to this goat before it jumps off and runs away. Now, what is this creature? Well, it's called the Penningalin. This creature is absolutely terrifying, as it is a nocturnal vampiric entity from Malay ghost myths. Now, it's said that it takes form as a floating, disembodied woman's head, with its organs and entrails trailing from its neck. Now, from afar, this creature is said to twinkle like a ball of flame, and when this creature runs away from the goat, you can really see that it's just a head. Now, in Malaysian folklore, these creatures are mortal women who practice black magic. Now, I've never heard of this creature before, and it sounds absolutely terrifying, and I just would not want to see this in real life. Now, regardless if the video captures this creature or there really is just something wrong with this goat, it's very creepy nonetheless. And now we have to talk about Mike the Headless Chicken. Yeah, you heard that right. Mike lived for 18 months after he was beheaded, surviving because most of his brainstem remained intact and a blood clot prevented him from bleeding to death. Yeah. Now, this all happened in 1945, and Mike gained a lot of fame. Although most of his head was severed, most of his brainstem and his one ear was left on his body. So it was like he was a normal chicken, just without his head. Now, Mike then began a career of touring sideshows and was also photographed for dozens of magazines and papers and was featured in Time and Life magazines. Now, he was put on display to the public for an admission cost of 25 cents, which is equivalent to about $4 now. At the height of his popularity, the chicken's owner earned $4,500 per month, equivalent to $63,000 today. Now, Mike was valued at $10,000, equivalent to $140,000 today, which again is just absolutely insane. Now, all of that came to an end though in 1947 after Mike choked on something and died. Now, this story is absolutely insane, and it's crazy that this actually happened. I mean, good job there's photographic evidence, or else I think a lot of people wouldn't believe this crazy story. Bigfoot seems to be part human, part animal, and he's absolutely terrifying. Now, there have been hundreds of Bigfoot sightings over the years, but today we're going to talk about one from May 2025 in Colorado. Now, residents have been shocked as Bigfoot was seen lurking in the woods. A whitewater rafting crew with the Colorado River Expedition was traveling down the upper Colorado River when they decided to go on land and take a break. But what they saw there shocked them. Logan Kirk, a lead guide, said someone yelled out that they saw a bear, so we started looking at it, and that's when we realized it was something else. It wasn't a bear, it was standing up there on the hillside, he said. It was definitely bipedal, which really stood out to us. The video of this, which has millions of views, shows a large furry figure walking through dense pine trees. Now, it stops between two trees, appears to stare directly at the camera, and then vanishes into the woods. Now, similar footage has been posted to the internet, from Bigfoot being spotted in Canada all the way to California. Now, do you believe in Bigfoot? With more and more proof, I think I'm becoming more convinced. And mermaids are other creatures that have been spotted a lot recently. The mermaid, part fish, part human, has been a legend for years. But with more and more stories coming out and people seeing them, and these creatures being caught on video, it has become even more convincing that they're real. Now, one place that's infamous for mermaids is Jamaica, but specifically an area called Flat Bridge. Now, this first video is chilling as it shows people on rocks by the edge of the water. As they sit, they seem to be totally oblivious to the mermaid right under them. In the green murky water, you can see a shadow swimming. You then see splashing, and then a mermaid swim on the surface of the water. Now, it seems like the mermaid was surveying the situation, maybe seeing if she could drag the person into the water. Now, there's also been another sighting there where a group of people were standing by the water and again saw a mermaid. The water was murky like the last time and you couldn't see anything. Well, that was until they started recording and you could see the mermaid's head bob out of the water. Now, the people in the video then screamed that they saw a mermaid and she bobs back down into the water, hoping not to be seen again. Now, all I gotta say is we have to be nice to these creatures because who knows what they could do if they get angry. In May 2022, a TikToker posted a video of what appeared to be a giant standing on top of a mountain in Canada. Now, he zooms into a mountain and there you can see a large person. The guy filming it calls it a giant because it's huge, and I have to agree because there's no way a human being that big would be up there. Now, people were intrigued, asking the TikToker to get more proof and footage, but one day he just vanished and no one really knows what happened to him. Now, did he find something out he wasn't supposed to? I don't know, but I do know that whatever he recorded wasn't human. Then there's the mutant rabbits that are popping up everywhere right now. It started with a group of rabbits in Colorado that seem to develop horn-like growths all over their body. Now, scientists say there's no reason to be spooked as the bunnies have a relatively common virus. I don't know though, it looks like something straight out of The Last of Us. Now, people are freaked out too as these viral photos of the diseased rabbits include people calling them Frankenstein bunnies, demon rabbits, and zombie rabbits. Now, I actually kind of feel bad for them, but Cara Van Hoos, a spokesperson for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, said that the growths resemble warts but can look like horns if they grow longer. She added the growths don't harm the rabbits unless they grow on their eyes or mouths and interfere with eating. Rabbits' immune systems are able to fight the virus, and once they do, the growths will disappear, she said. So it seems like they won't stay like this forever, but they sure are terrifying. Then there's this creature that was caught on CCTV that no one really knows what it is. The city of Amarillo in Texas captured video footage of an unknown creature at their zoo. Now they couldn't figure out what it was, so they released the footage and asked the public for help, but no one else seemed to know what it was either. Now some people said it might be the legendary Chupacabra, an animal said to prowl around and drink the blood of other animals at night. And I mean, that does make sense because this was at a zoo, but others believe it could be a skinwalker. In Navajo culture, a skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise themselves as an animal. Now regardless, no one could properly identify it, and the animal was never spotted again. Then there's this bird. It seems to be a pigeon with a huge neck that sticks out and large feet that are way too big for its own body. Now the clip of this creature has gone viral, with people confused and just weirded out. The location of the video was unconfirmed, however the rare breed of fancy pigeon can be found across Europe and the UK. Now their unusual appearance is reportedly a result of many years of selective breeding, but this is just so unnatural, and I gotta say that poor bird. Sometimes humans create the most messed up stuff. Okay, we have no idea what this creature even is, but there's this man who claims that he found a meteorite and has taken it into his home, and it has started growing. Yeah, the man has been documenting all of this on TikTok, and what looked like a small rock has now turned into a black blob with moving branches coming out of it. It's honestly really unsettling as no one knows what's growing, but people can't stop talking about it. Now, he's been documenting it every day, and people are starting to think it isn't AI. They think it's real. Now, is he creating some kind of alien or mutant plant? I don't know, but this scares me a lot as it looks like something straight out of Stranger Things from the Upside Down and is just so creepy. Now, it will be interesting to see what comes of this because this is crazy. Now, mermaids have been proven to exist. In Minnesota, a group of doctors and security guards were caught on camera engaging in suspicious activity. When a curious onlooker decided to record what they were doing, they witnessed a body being lifted by the doctors and placed on a stretcher. Now, the clip shows a green tail floating in the water, and the tail of the creature that was being carried clearly resembled that of a mermaid. While the video quality isn't the best, the tail was visible enough to add fuel to the belief in mermaids. Now, paranormal enthusiasts have urged viewers to keep an open mind about this video and ask why someone would go to the trouble of staging such an elaborate hoax. According to the Paranormal Elite YouTube channel, which was sent the footage, the person who filmed it stayed behind after the beach was cleared. The man, identified only as Mackie, said large vehicles arrived with people wearing yellow hazmat suits to protect them from dangerous materials. Now, Mackie believes the footage does show the proof of mermaids. Now, there's a pretty famous alligator out there right now named Claude, who is known for being albino. Now, he hatched on September 15th, 1995, meaning it was just recently his 30th birthday. Now, Claude lacks the pigment melanin, resulting in colorless skin, and he has poor eyesight associated with his albinism. Now, he was in danger in the wilderness due to this because it did not allow him to camouflage into his surroundings like other alligators, so due to this, he's in captivity to keep him safe. Now, he was initially raised at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm Zoological Park in Florida, but then Claude was taken to the California Academy of Sciences in 2008. Now, flash forward to April 2025, the California Academy of Scientists launched the Claude Cam, a 24/7 live stream of Claude as he lounges, swims, and snoozes in his swamp exhibit. I mean, you can literally go watch him right now, which is pretty cool. In South America, several videos surfaced of stray dogs hairless, with protruding teeth, long claws, and glowing eyes. Locals claim they were chupacabras, and they've been spotted all around the world. In 2003, a mysterious creature was sighted in Bolivia amid reports of dead livestock with their blood allegedly sucked dry. This made locals fear that this creature was back. In the drone footage, a shadowy, seemingly bipedal figure can be seen strolling through an open field. Now, the mysterious sighting coincides with the deaths of several cows, llamas, and alpacas in the area at the time, which put locals on edge. Now, the animals' neck wounds led locals to believe that they had been killed by this creature, which they claim is a vampiric demon. And I mean, it kind of makes sense in this case, because what kind of animal sucks another animal's blood? It's just straight up weird. Now, there have been multiple sightings of these creatures all over the place, which has been absolutely terrifying. Pretty much all the animals in Chernobyl have a weird mutation. A lot of these creatures are born with major birth defects, such as multiple heads, muzzles, and legs. Scientists also found other defects, such as a cat with 2 faces, a lamb with 8 legs, a 2-faced calf, and another calf with its legs growing from its back. Now, in 1989, farmers reported birth defects in their animals, and one cow even had a mutated cleft lip. The dogs are radioactive, and some cows even create radioactive milk, which, no, you shouldn't drink. Now, this is all due to the radiation, and it is terrifying. Then there's the time a 3-headed frog was found. While mutant frogs are not totally unheard of, one with 3 heads is incredibly rare. A mutant frog with 3 heads and 6 legs was found in the garden of Green Umbrella Nursery in the UK in 2004. The discovery was made by a student, and the students at the nursery initially thought it was just 3 frogs cuddling with each other, but they were surprised when it turned out to be 1 frog. Now, school staff captured the frog and put it in a tank, but by Friday morning, the frog was discovered to have escaped. I guess 3 brains really are better than 1. Now, its eyes and legs seem to function normally, but it's unknown whether its 3 mouths were fully functional. A professor of biology at the Open University said that although mutant frogs have been reported for about 200 years, one with 3 heads and 6 legs is completely unheard of. They said the mutation could be due to parasites, pollution, or genetic mutation. Now, some people believe that the mutation is an after effect of the decommissioned Hinkley Nuclear Power Station, which is only 19 kilometers away from the Green Umbrella Nursery. Now, a pig called Rudy has 2 heads, 2 snouts, 2 ears, and 3 eyes. Now, the middle eye, which is where the 2 heads meet, is blind. Now, Rudy was purchased from its owner for $5,000 by an animal rescue group, Pigs Without Partners, who then renamed him Ditto. Only one of Ditto's snouts were functional, and it had to wear a little helmet in case he fell over. His whole life, Ditto had problems walking and had to use a special walker to get around. He'd only begun learning how to use his 2 front legs when he suddenly died in 1998, just 2 months after getting to Pigs Without Partners. Now, before his death, he had been unstable and had a habit of falling on his left side. Now, it was actually reported that he passed away from pneumonia caused by food inhalation when breathing through one muzzle while eating with the other. Now, people in this village in India were absolutely terrified when this gigantic snake was seen slithering around. Like, it's huge, bigger than any other snake they'd ever seen. Now, the caption of the video says that this giant of a snake, who is rarely seen, was captured in the stable of a peasant's house. It allegedly entered the stable and ate one of the animals that were in there. And it makes sense that it ate 1 or even more animals. As you can see in the video, its stomach is huge. It clearly just had a giant meal. Now, the caption continues to say, in a video recorded by one of the residents of the house, you can appreciate the large size of the snake and its huge lump in its body, which would correspond to the prey that would have been eaten. Now, in the video, you can see the snake struggling to move, flopping all over the place because of its stomach being so big. Now, this is honestly really scary, and I have no idea how someone was able to record this, because personally, I would have gotten up and ran. In Argentina, villagers were stunned when they discovered what looked like a mutant calf that appeared half human, half cow. The strange creature had an elongated head, oddly shaped limbs, and wrinkled skin that looked eerily human-like. Now, locals immediately considered it a cursed birth or some kind of omen, while others believed it was the result of toxic pollution mutating the livestock. Now, the videos of the bizarre creature show people gathered around its body, filming from every angle, whispering in shock. Scientists later said it was a stillborn calf with severe congenital defects, but for the villagers who witnessed it firsthand, they swore it was something otherworldly, and regardless, it was just straight up creepy looking. A strange video hit YouTube, which was supposedly recorded in Costa Rica. It shows a strange figure who seems to have 4 legs walking strange on them. Now, it's not like how any normal land animal walks, as it almost looks like it could be crawling like a crab. Now, in the video, it shows 2 dogs barking at this creature, not really sure what to make of it either. Now, it's pretty unclear as to what this actually is, and people have replied to the clip sharing their theories, and some think it could be something sinister. Now, some people are saying that it could be Lamona, and these were witches who, through ancestral indigenous prayers, shed their skin and grew their hair. Their hands and feet were lengthened, transforming into a similar being to a large, monstrous monkey. Now, they could move at high speeds through the trees, usually to deal damage to their enemies in surprising ways. They did so amid chilling laughter and hideous screams that chilled the blood of their victims, leaving them groggy or speechless for the rest of their lives. Now, regardless of whatever this actually was, I would not want to come face to face with it, as it is scary. Now, no one really knows what this creature is, as the user who posted the video said they thought it was an owl banging on their window, but then they weren't so sure. At first, it does look like an owl, but the more you watch it, the more distorted the face of the creature gets. It seems to be making eye contact with the person recording, and it's making steady, repeated knocks. Now, again, I don't know what this is, but I am scared. Now, this video claims to have filmed Dogman. It's said that a man who was camping in his RV took the video and was freaked out by it. Now, the person who posted the footage on TikTok said, "It looks like a dogman, the ears, this is old footage. Sorry about the quality, but still, you get a good glimpse at this cryptid, filmed by a terrified man who was sleeping in the woods in his RV a few years ago in the Appalachian Mountains." Now, could this be a bear? Well, that is a possibility, but we all know weird and unexplainable things can happen in these mountains, so I wouldn't be too surprised if it actually was Dogman. But hey, what do you think it is? Then there's a time 2 hunters were outside at night looking for deer, but they seemed to find something more sinister. The passenger with the light tells the driver to hold on, thinking he may have spotted a buck. Now, the driver slows down and the passenger tells him to stop real quick, thinking that he spots antlers just poking out at the end range of the beam of light. But all of a sudden, a distorted humanoid figure leaps up and waves its elongated arms menacingly. Now, the hunters believe that this was actually a skinwalker of Navajo legend, but some believe it resembles more like a rake from the urban legends of creepypasta. Now, rakes are described as human-like, but often with distorted limbs that are too thin and too long, as well as glowing eyes and an inhuman mouth that seems wrong somehow. Now, all I gotta say is, this is not a human nor an animal, so what is it? Just looking at it gives me the creeps. Now, this strange creature was seen on the side of a mountain in Colorado. 2 hikers, Jesse Clausen and Camille Avarella, were descending Long Peak in the Rockies when they took a photo that captured this thing. Now, they noticed it when they were back home looking at photos, and it freaked them out so much that they shared it online. Now, as you can see, there appears to be a 20-foot gray lanky creature climbing up the mountain. Now, there's no animal that looks like that, so what is it? Some people think it's a cryptid or some sort of alien. Camille's dad said, "What the hell, that thing is at least 20 feet or so," and Camille was like, "Should we call the rangers?" Clausen recalled. "We were like, what the hell is that? It could be a rock, but it has all the features of something that is human. We are open to interpretations," they said, adding that they posted the pictures on a Facebook group for Colorado hikers, and dozens of commenters were disturbed by what they caught on camera. It was so far away, it couldn't really do anything to us. I like to think it was an alien. The anatomy is so human-like, it's freaky as hell, they added. And yes, I have to agree with this, and this photo makes me very, very uncomfortable. Now, in 2015, people claimed that they saw the New Jersey Devil along Route 9 in Egg Harbor Township near a golf course. The witness, David Black, thought there was a llama standing inside of its fence along the roadway until it suddenly whipped out gigantic wings and started flying away. David grabbed his cell phone and tried to capture a video of this creature, and the video clip is very short, but it shows what appears to be the New Jersey Devil flying across the screen as a black silhouette against a colorful sunset. There is a still photo of the same creature that's also attributed to David, and it kinda looks like a horned goat with wings that was thrown like a football. However, the clip also went on the internet close to Halloween, which is why many people believe that David is trying to prank the internet. He told NJ.com, "I swear it's not photoshopped or a staged thing. People have said it's fake, but it's not. I'm honestly just looking for an explanation for what I saw." And I mean, a lot of different people have claimed to see the New Jersey Devil, so is he telling the truth? And of course, we have to talk about Bigfoot. Now, there have been thousands of sightings of this beast, but this one was taken in Oklahoma near the end of 2024. A man identified as Emmanuel Alfaro posted a 10-second video to TikTok of what he claims shows his encounter with Bigfoot. In the video, Emmanuel appears to come across an apparent Bigfoot sitting in the forest. Now, the video goes blurry as the creature turns to look at him and he takes off running. Emmanuel says in the caption of the video that he was doing some sightseeing at Parallel Forest when he spotted something in the distance. He captioned the video, "Scariest moment of my life, and I really think I caught an effing Bigfoot on camera in Parallel Forest. I was just doing some sightseeing, enjoying the day, when I saw something in the distance. I'm still shaking as I type this." Now, the authenticity of this video has been questioned, with many in the comments noting that it looks like a Halloween costume, but others though are convinced that he captured authentic footage of the elusive creature. What do you think? A viral video supposedly shot in Portugal seemingly shows a strange alien entity that looks like a cross between Bigfoot and a Chupacabra. Now, the creature neatly blends in with its muted surroundings and can be almost impossible to spot. However, the creature doesn't stay in view for long as it swiftly disappears behind a large bush. It seems to be tall and lanky and a tan color. Now, no one has come to a conclusion as to what this really is, but people are freaked out. Clearly, this creature didn't think it was being recorded, so they went on with their usual business. Now, I think it might be a skinwalker, as those are the kind of vibes that I get, but what do you guys think it is? And in 2018, this video went viral, claiming to show a 6-foot eerie faceless creature reportedly stalking a moose in the Canadian wilderness. The clip was posted by Audrey Franchette, who said, "I was filming a moose on the roadside. Looking at the video, I saw this strange shape at the back left. Can someone tell me what it is?" Now, it's unclear exactly what Audrey captured on film, but some YouTube commenters say that it looks like Gollum. Now, one person even said, "That looks like the rake type creature stalking that moose. It must be pretty tall too." Now, this creature appears to stand up on its hind legs, though it's not clear how tall it is. The Sun called it a 6-foot tall monstrosity, and yeah, because no normal animal looks like that.